Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Weather's the same. It hasn't changed much here. A little cloudy today so far. Still cool. And it is starting to feel more like fall around here. But they keep telling us that we're gonna still see some more warm weather. So we'll just hold out and see. Today is the day, not this video, but this afternoon, I'll be making the big announcement on who has won the big medical bag that's filled with just about everything you need to take on an emergency medical scenario. But we'll be announcing that this afternoon. And before we ship this bag off, we're gonna pray for it. Not pray for the bag, but pray for the person that would be using that bag. So that, ask the Father to bless your hands as you are using these items to potentially save a life, or at least just make a life better, more comfortable. And then we're going to ship that out to you. And so depending on how the mail works, and you know how that is, maybe next week you might be getting that. So we'll see. So the big buzz this morning is that President Donald Trump did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. And I haven't been able to kind of put my finger on it yet, but for the last day or two, I've suspected something's up. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too tinfoil hatty. But it just seems really weird because, well, let's just put it this way. The Nobel Peace Prize, whether it's legitimate anymore or not, or has lost all of its meaning, or, especially since Obama got it so many years ago for just doing nothing. Oh, he got elected into office. Let's give him a Nobel Peace Prize. I get it. But the Nobel Peace Prize that is awarded today is based on actions done last year. And the cutoff for the nominees, for the nominations, was this past January. Now, I don't know much about the Nobel Peace Prize. I just don't care much about it. But I do know that. I know that they have to go through a process of kind of, looking into investigating each individual nominee to see if they're, worthy of even receiving it. And so I know that there's a lengthy process. And what's strange to me is that in the last couple of days, since it was announced that the, Gaza-Israel peace deal was gonna be green lighted so far, no hostages have yet been released, but immediately people were talking. President Trump himself said it many times. Even Benjamin Netanyahu said it. And several other Republican leaders claimed that they had nominated Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize and he should win it, and he should win it coming up. And I'm thinking, doesn't any of them know that they've already been going through that process? They probably already have the name chosen or have a good idea, at least by now, because it's only going to be announced in a couple of days, that there's no way that he would be eligible to be receiving it this time. Maybe next year, but not this time. And so I suspect that there was something going on. I don't know yet. It may be nothing. It just seems strange to me that all these people are saying that. They should have known that he was not eligible to win it this year. Win it for the one that's being announced this year. Maybe next year he could. We will see if this peace deal holds through. So it could be nothing. It's probably nothing, right? It's just, it was strange. And so we'll see. But they're saying that the IDF has withdrawn back to the areas that they agreed to, and that Palestinians are or Gazans, or whatever they're called, Hamasians, they're starting to move back into the areas of North Gaza, and that Hamas has 72 hours to release the hostages. Now, President Trump yesterday said something that he cannot guarantee that after the hostages are released, that Israel won't turn around and then start bombing or attacking Hamas again. Wouldn't that be a breaking of the ceasefire and the peace deal? I mean, I'm not I'm not a genius or anything like that, but that seems to be what that would mean. That, that this was just another ploy, kind of like what was going on with Iran and Trump seeming to buddy up to Iran and turn his back on Israel only to catch them off guard to attack them. I mean, is that what's going on here? Is this just another ploy to get them to release the hostages so that Israel can turn around and flatten Hamas and Gaza again? Because I think it's pretty clear that Israel does not want the Gaza Strip filled with Palestinians or anyone other than Israelis. So we'll see what happens there. In other news, for the last 2 or 3 years, I have been warning everyone, and I've talked about this quite a bit here lately, that the allowing of all of these illegals into this country was going to create a scenario that at some point the government would turn around and say, okay, yeah, we need to get rid of all these illegals, but we need a really big government and powerful big brother and spy networks, and we need to suspend rights and trample on the Constitution because we have tens of millions of illegals. And I've been warning about that, and it's not that I think they shouldn't deport illegals. It's that it had gotten to such a point, and I believe purposefully, that it was going to be, well, not just a nightmare to get rid of them, but it was going to be the thing that changed America, that propelled America into this New World Order, Agenda 2030 stuff, because we would almost have to do all of these big brother, deep state kind of, things to get rid of tens of millions of illegals. Well, this morning the news is reporting that ICE has contracted with about 30 different contracting companies that deal with, internet security, internet surveillance, things like that. And so what they're doing, they've created a basically an intelligence division, and their job is to spy on illegals online and create all these dossiers so that ICE can say, okay, we've got this person, we're going to go get this one, we got this person, we're going to go get this one, and it's all based on your internet activity, your social media activity. And of course, Palantir is the company that's kind of leading this. This is based off of their technology and their software, and then also an Israeli spy company, Polygon, something like that. And they claim to be able to have backdoor access to things like WhatsApp and other chatting app Signal. That's supposed to be like the most secure one out there, they claim. But they say they can get backdoor access, and they put all this together. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because that's a bunch of illegals. They're using AI and everything to do this. How are they going to just only go after the illegals? I mean, think about it. They have to. That just how it works. You have to be investigating several people to figure out which ones are the illegals. It's like any type of crime. If there's a bank robbery, you're not only going to investigate the criminals because you don't know if they're the criminals. You're investigating anyone that might even have a chance of being a suspect. And several of them aren't in the end, but you've investigated them till you find the one that is. And that's how it's going to be. So in other words, they are potentially accessing your private chats. Potentially, they're accessing your social media, what you post, everything. Now, are they going to do anything about it? Probably right now, no. They're probably genuinely just going to go after illegals, but that doesn't mean that they don't keep records. That doesn't mean that they're not paying attention to what you're saying and what you're doing online. And the fact is that this is now being developed to infiltrate and to look into pretty much anyone's social media activity to figure out if you're an illegal or not. And this is being done again, headed up by Palantir. I've been warning you about them for a long time. And this other company out of Israel that claims that they can access things like Signal and WhatsApp and, backdoor ways of getting in and seeing your chats and all that kind of stuff. And then of course, AI is going to be the thing that's being used to do all of this. So yeah, I feel a little bit vindicated. This is what I've been warning about. And again, it's not about, well, do you want to get rid of the illegals or do you not want to get rid of the illegals? That's not it. The thing is that I've been warning for years that this has been an orchestrated destruction of America. And it wasn't done by the Democrats and it wasn't done by the Republicans. It was done by all of them because they knew. It's the same thing with Europe and all of them and these big globalists. Okay, let's take a whole bunch of these third world people from Africa and in India and in South America and stuff, and let's flood them into these nations that are going to be very difficult to get them to comply with all of this surveillance, with all of this, reduction of rights, you'll own nothing and be happy stuff, and get them to the point that they are desperate for the government to come in and fix this. And of course, the solution to fix this is the reduction of rights and you'll own nothing and be happy and all this. But hey, in the end, there won't be any illegals here, right? I mean, that's probably not going to happen, but that's the selling point. They create the problem and offer the solution. I've been warning people about this, and too many times it's fallen on deaf ears. And so now that they're admitting that that's the case, that's what they're doing. It's what the news is reporting. It completely makes sense. Already, there's been numerous reports of ICE as they're going around and just randomly pulling people out of their cars. Randomly, there's been reports that they've been entering homes without warrants, all on the justification, well, you're an illegal, so we don't need a warrant. Oops, sorry, you're a U.S. citizen. You've been held in detention for a week, but now we figured out you really are a U.S. citizen, so we're going to go ahead and release you. Don't worry about the fact that, we just trampled on your rights for a week or so and entered your home illegally and everything. And too many times people are just, justifying that, ignoring it, saying, well, we got to get rid of these illegals. So what? There's some collateral damage along the way. And we allow this force to be built up that's not wearing any kind of uniforms. They don't look at any kind of official capacity. They're not following any type of typical law enforcement protocols. They're just, the last time the world's really seen this kind of stuff was in World War II Germany. But hey, it's for an actual good reason this time. And then what happens when they, get rid of all the illegals and they got to go against the people that are not complying with other orders or not complying with, towing the party line or whatever it is? You have a force of people that's already capable of doing that. And now you're going to have the technology to spy on everyone. And it's not like this technology hasn't existed. It's just all being pulled together. And I'm telling you, it's taking us down that road, down the road that we've all been worried about for years. That's going to happen. And it's all under the guise of, well, we got to get rid of the illegals, which we should, yes, but not this way. So anyways, the solution is just keep getting ready, and understand that at some point you may have to go dark. And what I mean is that your internet footprint needs to disappear. Here's the thing. I know that people say this all the time and have for years that, well, your information's already out there. That's true. Everyone's information's already out there, unless you were born on some Amish farm and you've never touched, any type of digital anything and you've never filled out any government documents. Pretty much everyone else, your information's out there. But how a lot of these AI systems work, they can actually kind of forget you, So if your digital footprint just keeps being reduced down and down and down to where you're barely there, it can kind of, in a sort of a way, forget you. or at least not have really current information. So at some point, and I know that's destroying this channel. I'm not, at some point this channel, people wouldn't be watching it, probably because at some point I'm not going to be making videos. I'm not saying that's going to happen today, tomorrow, or in the near future, but at some point we have to understand and have a plan of how to, get offline. And between now and then, we should be doing everything we can to reduce our footprint on the internet. Reduce, the information that we get out there. Just putting that out there. All right, folks. I've been warning you. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.